People make quitting addiction seem like it's this really hard, big, scary thing. Now, yes, it is relatively hard and it will take time, but with the right tools under your belt, it will fall away on its own. I know this because I was there. For about 2 years, I was a drug addict. I started off just partying, just drinking a little bit when I was 15. At the age of 17, that developed into full-blown drug addiction, all the way up until I was 19, where I decided to get sober, and now I've been sober for 2 whole years. You know, a lot of people ask and always wonder like how I done it, because most people, especially young people, quit that early. But see, I was forced into it. From where I was, I had no other choice. See, my life had just been getting progressively worse and worse and worse, and it became obvious that I needed a change. First of all, I was so depressed all the time. I hated my life every day. I just wish I was dead. But that wasn't enough. In fact, that got me more addicted. Eventually, I started getting pains all around my abdomen. I felt just like my organs were dying. Now, I never found out what it was. It did eventually go away once I had stopped everything, but it was so scary, man. But still, again, I didn't stop. Finally, it just got boring. I still felt depressed when I was high. I still felt bored when I was high. These feelings I was running from, I was still experiencing when I was high. They just stopped working. The drugs, the escapism, it stopped working. So at that point, I had to change. Every single sign was pushing towards me to get out of that addiction, to drop everything. But that's what you want. Yes, it's painful. Yes, at the time, I hated it. But I'm so glad that happened to me, because it led me to quit when most people don't. So of course, when you're comfortable, you're not going to change. But when there's no other choice, you have to change. Now, this is achievable for anyone, because at the end of the day, I felt like I was being guided by God. Yes, that's true. But it doesn't matter if you're spiritual, religious, any of that, because at the end of the day, what was changing was my awareness, my clarity. I was really seeing what I was doing to myself through the other habits I had started to develop. And that's really all you need to do, is start changing your habits. Now, yes, most addictions will have a root cause, some trauma, something in your past, maybe something in your present that's really destroying you, getting you down. You need to look into that. You need to let the emotions come out, and the only way to do that is to sit with them, really, to not run. But of course, that's easier said than done. When you're fully in addiction, you're not able to just sit with feelings, you're not able to process feelings, because really that's why we're addicted. We get the smallest, slightly annoying, bad, negative feeling, and we run to get high, we run to some vice. So you need to start developing habits throughout your life that will completely change your character, and therefore will help you drop this bullshit, it'll help you do anything. The first habit is exercise. Now, it seems silly, it seems like, how will this help me get sober? Some people anyway, the people who have never exercised before, they'll be confused. But see, exercise is so brilliant because it makes you feel fucking amazing, not only in the moment when you're working out and the endorphins are high after you finish the workout, you feel great, but long term, because you're building a body that you like, you're getting better at a certain sport that you enjoy. So there's the double benefits, and the biggest one of all that will 100% help you get sober is it builds discipline. We all know this, but it doesn't just magically build discipline on its own. No, it builds discipline from going when you don't want to go. Because let's be honest, you're not always going to feel like you want to go. Yeah, when you've been doing it for years and years and years like I have, you love it. You always want to go, but for most of my career, we'll say, of going to the gym, I hate it. I didn't hate it, but a lot of times I would not like to go. At the start, I hated it. I just always complained with my dad, but eventually something switched and I seen how good it was. But even then, I still had to force myself to go most days. But this is what we want. This is what we want, because this is what's going to occur when you're getting sober. You're going to feel that pull. You're going to think, fuck this, it's not even worth it. And if you've trained yourself again and again saying, no, fuck that, and do what you should do instead of what you feel like doing, that's how we grow, that's how we get sober. The next thing that is looked over all the time is meditation. See, the biggest reason why is because all the misconceptions about meditation. The biggest one is people think they can't do it. If you don't know meditation, you're basically just focusing on one certain thing, usually the breath. Because people think, oh well, I can't focus constantly on my breath. My mind wanders, but your mind's supposed to wander. Just like in the gym, you're supposed to hit failure. You're supposed to get close to the point where you can't do it anymore. You're supposed to not be able to get that other rep. That is how we grow. It's the same with meditation. Your mind is supposed to wander. Even if you're a monk, your mind will wander. The key is just bringing it back. As soon as you realize that you don't have to beat a certain time, all you have to do, once you've realized, oh, I'm distracted, my mind's wandering, come back. And that's like 1 rep. You repeat that over and over and over again. I really recommend getting an app, either Headspace or Medito, because meditation, it can be quite confusing at the start. The apps explain everything. They put it in such a simple way, and it gives you the timer and everything. Just 5 minutes, 10 minutes will change your life completely, because it will bring awareness your whole life, not only in the outside but the inside. This is one of the biggest reasons why I got sober, because it's hard to hide from your lies, the bullshit, when you see right through them, when you see them clearly. Because we create this character, this ego, this identity in our minds, but it's false. It's just a creation, it's just an idea. We are the awareness behind all of it, and I know this won't make sense to you until you fully see it, but trust me, it is true. Just try meditation and you'll start to see it for reality. Now, it might not work the first time. For me, it worked the first time because my mind was so fucking scrambled. I was doing things like butane, which is lighter gas. I was doing drugs every single day. I just felt so broken, so lost. If you're in a better off spot than I was mentally, then it might take time before you start to see these things. And of course, it brings peace to your mind. Those racing thoughts that often lead us to relapsing, that lead us to addiction, it calms it down. I'm not going to say it goes away. Your thoughts will obviously never go away. It's just part of being human. But it calms it down drastically. You start to be able to be present most of the time. We've all felt that. You know, when you just see some beautiful in nature, maybe a sunset, and we're just silent. The mind is just still. We're in awe. Or when we work out so hard, we feel good and we're just present in the moment. If you want that more often, what you need to do is meditate. Reading is another great one that will honestly change your life. It doesn't even have to be, you know, a non-fiction. It could be. You could read non-fiction about getting sober. You could read self-improvement books. That's what I did at the start. But now I always read a non-fiction and a fiction, you know, because the goal isn't really, when it comes to getting sober, isn't really to learn, but to get some healthy escapism. Now, either or, just whatever you enjoy is great. You escape into someone else's ideas, their mind, their knowledge, or you escape into a fiction world. Either is good. We're just trying to get some healthy escapism, because of course drug use, partying, drinking, it's just escapism, but it has a massive downside. Reading has no downside, but at the start it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to concentrate. You know, your mind's going to go everywhere, but it's a skill like any other. You just need to build up. Start for a couple pages, maybe a few. Eventually you want to get to the point where you're reading every day. It will take time though. Finally, you want to go out and you want to socialize without getting high, without getting fucked up. Real socialization, because when you're high, when you're fucked up, you're not connecting with your friends. You're just connecting with a substance. You know, if all you do together is getting high, they're probably not your friends. Why don't you start going out sober? Start doing things sober. Maybe it's a coffee, a hike, a workout, a walk, just a chat with each other. You start to realize that you don't actually need the drug, because a lot of people, they convince themselves like to have fun and enjoy themselves with other people. We need to get high. We need to get fucked up, but we get confused because the day is not fun because of the drug. The day is fun because the day is fun and because we were socialized. A bad night is always a fucking bad night. If you're drunk or not, you're just drunk and it's bad. Fun night is always fun, whether you're sober or drunk or stoned, any of that. We just confuse the good feelings and we think, oh, it must be the drug. It must be the drug. Of course, they release dopamine and stuff, but that's not really what makes it a good day. You wouldn't call it a good night if you were just sitting alone, snorting coke, alone, just doing drugs, just getting high, just escapism. The next day, you wouldn't wake up and say, oh, that was a good night. No, the good part is the socialization. So go out and do some healthy socialization. Finally, mindset is so important. Now, these habits, they will build the right mindset automatically, but there's just a few things I want you to be aware of. First off, you need to of course have patience. This is going to take time. It took me about 6 months after doing drugs consistently for about 2 years. If you've been doing it longer than I have, might take longer. It might take you a year, 2 years. Now, not to say that you'll be constantly relapsing through this time. You know, slowly but surely you get better and better and better, but you'll be fully gone within the next year. So it will take time. It might take you quicker. You might drop it in a few months, in a few weeks, but realistically, relapsing is part of the game. You know, you're going to relapse, but you need to just use them in the right way, because see, it's not that bad. Relapsing isn't that bad. It's actually almost like your guide. I view it, the universe, that God's guiding me. If you don't believe any of that, it doesn't matter. You just need to look and realize that this is just a wake-up call. First off, it gives you that reminder. That negative feeling, that regret, that shame that you feel when you relapse, that's the reminder of how shit getting high, about how shit escaping your feelings is. But it also shows you where you're fucking up, because it's not just isolated. You're fucking up somewhere. Maybe you're thinking all day and just negative thoughts all day. You were just thinking about getting high, by that drug, that drink. Maybe you're hanging around the wrong people. Maybe you're doing some other bad action, because vices just lead to more vices. Even something as simple as scrolling on your phone can get your brain in that dopamine hungry state, and it just seeks more and more and more and more, and makes you feel more and more empty. You just need to try and be positive. It's hard. At the start, a lot of times I would just say to myself, fuck that shit, I'm not a drug addict anymore. When that feeling, that thought, oh, I want to get high, I'd flip it on its head, say, fuck that, I'm not a drug addict. And I know it seems like lying. It does. But if you back it up with the actions that you're doing, that you're actually taking care of yourself, doing meditation, exercise, eventually it will drop away. And once you get through it, you'll just look and you'll think, why the fuck did I ever even do that? Even partying is just so fucking stupid. Like, people just have convinced, like, this is what we do. People go out on the weekends, but it's a lie. We don't need to waste our life doing that. You're so much more. You're better than that bag. You're better than that bottle.